In 1742, 2 Indians died fighting for their lives in this inlet. The memory of their sacrifice is forgotten, commemorated only by the name Seneca Run. In 1813, an American privateer lurked here like a serpent, striking out to take its prey.
Oh, raise the dead.
Yeah, maybe they are. He's probably asleep. I'm gonna go and rouse him out. Here, take the tiller out.
What'd they do, Brocky?
It looks like there's nobody on duty here.
Well, they're supposed to have, aren't they?
That's according to the regulation. The ship comes down here, they gotta open the bridge on due notice.
Well, maybe we didn't give them the right kind of notice.
I gave them 3 blasts on the horn.
Well, what do we do now?
Attack!
For 150 years, Seneca Run has been at peace. Till now.
You should have stayed at the hospital, Frank.
Well, I'll be all right if I can make the steps.
I'll ask Mike to give you the day off. You better take it easy.
Oh, it's not that bad, Al.
Yeah, sit down here.
How could you do this to me?
Mike, will you let me tell you what happened?
No! I'll tell you what happened. I sent him down to the tombs to get a prisoner. That's what happened. Not an unusual or difficult task. So he gets the prisoner, a Mr. Simon Flaxner, released to him. He gets him to the elevator to take him to the street. On the way down, Mr. Flaxner hits Frank on the head, then he hits the elevator operator on the head. Among other things, you are supposed to be protecting the elevator operator. So, Mr. Flaxner takes off and becomes invisible in the city of New York. How many times have I told you to cuff these characters before you take them out on the street?
Oh, Mike, come on. Look, Frank has a busted head.
He's got a head full of spaghetti. He's also got his name in the papers. He's also got the commissioner's name in the papers. And he's got my name in the papers.
Yeah, Mr. Granger, look, this is Thomas Hale Dobbins. I live at the end of Seneca Run. Now, I tried to get my boat out this morning, and I gave the signal 3 blasts on my horn. Nothing happened. You've got to open that bridge. He's looking it up on the map. Give me that paper in case. Yes, Mr. Granger, yes. He said the bridge hasn't been opened in 25 years.
Oh.
He said they nailed the tracks across it, and they can't open it unless they pull the tracks up. But, Mr. Granger, you don't understand. I can't get my boat out of there. You'll have to open the bridge. He says there hasn't been a boat in the inlet since 1902.
Go ahead, tell him, dear.
Mr. Granger, let me read you part of the sales contract that my father signed when he sold both sides of the inlet to your predecessors. Whereas the party of the first part, the grantor, reserves an easement of ingress and egress through the mouth of the inlet, such easement to run with the land and the appurtenances thereto. The grantee agrees to permit such passage upon 7 days' notice, or, in the alternative, pay to the party of the first part, his heirs, devises, or assigns at the such notice $10,000 per month, to be apportioned pro rata over the number of days passage is not permitted. Mr. Granger? Are you there? Mr. Granger?
When I hire a traffic manager, I expect that traffic manager to know all there is about our right-of-way. Not just in general, but in particular, down to the last fish plate.
Now, Mr. Warwick, very few details escape me.
Well, here is a little detail that has escaped you. Come in.
You want to see me, Mr. Warwick?
You ever see this before?
Yes, it's a contract for the sale of some land.
You know where it came from?
No.
Your files? The back of the legal files?
Oh, yes, well, we're reorganizing all that.
Look at the date on that agreement.
Oh, well, this was before I came here.
And it'll be here after you leave if you don't do something about it. Read paragraph 14. Oh, yeah. Can you tell me what's involved in opening this drawbridge?
Yes. Well, well, to begin with, we need a crew of 8 men to do the actual job of taking up the spikes. Now, the motor that worked the drawbridge is no longer in operative condition, so naturally we'll have to get some motive power. I'm quite sure that we can rig a steam winch on the eastern shore. That will be no problem at all. But... the entire operation will take approximately 46 minutes. Sections C, D, E, and the Long Island bypass all work over this one bridge. We're going to have traffic backed up all the way to the other side of Jamaica. 8 to 10 trains, 16 to 30 cars each. Then there's the western shore. That presents a different problem. That's where we're going to have to bring the steam winch in from. Now, that means that we're going to have to bypass 9 trains that are already in transit. Mr. Warwick, we just don't have the sidings available. We're going to have to build a siding 1 mile long on the western approach to the city.
And let's not forget that 8 miles of that track is leased on an agreement that we don't disrupt anybody else's schedule. We'll have to get permission, from the Pennsylvania and the New York, New Haven, and the New York Central, and the B&O, the Long Island.
Yes, all of this
C&O.
means that when we do get it all organized, it'll still cost us from $35,000 to $40,000 every time we raise the bridge.
As against $10,000 a month every time we don't raise a bridge.
Gentlemen, I tell you what we're going to do. You two are going to go and see this Mr. Dobbins. And you're going to make a deal with him right away. Because if you don't make a deal with him right away, we are going to have to open the drawbridge on Saturday. In which case, I will have to fire my traffic manager and the head of my legal department. Now, do I make the point?
Mr. Dobbins?
Thomas, we have visitors.
My name is Banning. This is Mr. Granger. We're from the railroad.
Certainly, Mr. Bannon, Mr.
How do you do?
My wife.
How do you do?
I want you to step in, gentlemen.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Come in now.
Thank you. You'll excuse us?
Won't you sit down, gentlemen?
Oh, fine.
Now, Mr. Dobbins, we all realize that with the push and pull of commerce, many varied points of view must be reconciled.
As men of the world, Mr. Dobbins, one must recognize what an attorney calls a position of strength. Now, we're not acknowledging the validity of your claim against us, but we do feel that you have a certain legal logic on your side.
You won't open the bridge, huh?
We can't open the bridge, Mr. Dobbins. The track's fastened down. But you've played your part very cleverly. If I weren't on the other side of the fence, I would be forced to say that I owe you a congratulations. Now, shall we get to the crux of the matter? To be completely blunt and outspoken, Mr. Dobbins, how much?
For what?
How much to release us from that clause in the contract?
And now, if the amount isn't too exorbitant, we're prepared to pay it. Now, don't be too greedy, Mr. Dobbins.
You mean you think I called the railroad because I wanted to shake you down?
Well,
Get off my property. Get out of here. Beat it. Go on.
Now, look.
Scat.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. If I were a retired postman with an income of only $67 a week, I'd be very careful about whom I antagonized.
you're monkeying with giant forces, Mr. Dobbins. You have no idea of the size of this thing.
Thomas, you need one of the pistols.
No. Beat it, you two. Get out of here. Go on. Beat it.
Oh, now, wait a minute.
You better cease and desist, Dobbins. I'm warning you. Cease and desist.
Yeah, that's who I want to talk to, Lieutenant Mike Parker. Yeah, I'll hold on. Hey, Sam.
Yeah.
You got something for a headache?
One or two.
I'll take the bottle. What do you think this is, a mosquito bite? Mike?
Frank?
Yeah, Mike, you know the guy you sent me down to see? He don't want to talk about Flaxner.
What do you mean he don't want to talk?
It's like every time you mention Flaxner's name, he gets mad about it. He says it ain't like he's a blood relation that he's responsible for. He says he's only related to him by marriage only, and he don't want to talk about it.
Nobody asked him for conversation. Just where Flaxner is.
Yeah, but he says he don't approve of what Flaxner's activities are, and therefore he makes a point of not keeping track of him. Mike, you think I could have a couple of hours off? I sort of got a headache.
You got a headache? Wait just a minute. Wait till you hear this. From Deputy Commissioner Stockton. I'm reading. Detective Lieutenant Parker. Unless escaped prisoner Flaxner returned 24 hours, will proceed with departmental discipline of extreme nature. You got a headache, Frank?
Yeah.
Black with sugar, with mustard.
Without mustard.
Excuse me, but it's difficult to remember when everybody orders something different. With mustard.
Yes, with mustard, thank you.
Mr. Banning, I think I found something. Whoever on the Lord's day keeps open his shop, workhouse, warehouse, or place of business, travels, gardens, does any work, labor, or business on that day, except work of necessity or charity, uses any sport, game, or recreation, or is present at any dancing, public diversion, show, or entertainment encouraging the same, shall be punished by a fine of not more than $10 or not more than 5 days in the workhouse.
That's the kind of thing we're looking for. We'll squash him like a bug. Keep on looking. Frank, I have an idea. Why don't you punch him in the nose?
Because I like my job, that's why. And I got payments to make on a new car. I don't expect him to be reasonable. Kind, he ain't. A head full of spaghetti. Some of these days he's gonna walk through that door and I will punch him in the nose.
Frank, come on in here.
Now's your chance. Can I help you?
Yes, my name is Granger. This is Mr. Banning. We're here to see Lieutenant Parker.
Have a seat, please.
Thank you.
Mike, we talked to every stoolie in town. We checked his wife, we checked his mother, we checked his teeth, we checked the color of his grandfather's beard. What more do you want?
I want you to find him. That's what I want.
Mike,
Yeah.
a couple of fellas outside.
More trouble.
How do you figure that?
You ever see a big shot lawyer come down to a precinct house in person without it being trouble? Bring him in.
Right.
Well, what are you doing here? Why aren't you out looking? I want you to go to Flashin's neighborhood and pick it apart, building by building, flat by flat, room by room. Come on, get going.
This is Mr. Banning and Mr. Granger, Lieutenant Parker.
How do you do? Well, gentlemen, what can I do for you?
We're here to make a complaint against a man named Thomas Hale Dobbins.
Huh?
This photograph was taken by Mr. Granger here.
What kind of a crime is this?
Assault.
With a garden hose?
No. He was also watering his lawn. Now, you may not know this, Lieutenant, but pleasure gardening on the Sabbath is against the law.
We also have a law on the books that prohibits shooting rabbits out of streetcars. Only we don't have any streetcars and we don't have any rabbits. Do you want me to enforce that one too?
There are other charges against him. Maintaining livestock within the city limits, disturbing the peace.
Possession of deadly weapons.
What? What deadly weapons?
Pistols. 2 of them.
Did he threaten you with them?
Indirectly.
Now, if you'll examine those documents I just placed on your desk, you'll find among them a fully sworn affidavit signed by me and another one signed by Mr. Granger. You'll also find a warrant for Mr. Dobbins' arrest, issued by Judge Lyman D. Berwick.
Well, let me tell you something. Anytime 2 important gentlemen like you come down here on something like this, I have to figure that there's something more behind it than you're telling me.
Lieutenant, this man Dobbins
You're not a judge, Lieutenant, nor a jury. All you have to do is serve the warrant.
Good day, gentlemen.
Good day, Lieutenant.
In the midst of all my troubles, I have to wind up with a bedbug case like this. Bring him in.
Mrs. Dobbins?
Yes.
Is your husband here? Oh, my name is Flint. I'm a detective.
He's in the shed beside of the house. Just go right on here. Don't step in the mud. Thomas doesn't water the plants, he drowns them.
Enthusiastic, huh?
He doesn't plant flowers, he sticks them in the ground by the hundreds.
It looks very nice.
He plants them and I pull them up when he isn't looking. Keeps him happy and me busy.
Thank you.
Now, don't you get Thomas back up. He's awful stubborn.
Try not to.
Dobbin? Mr. Dobbin?
Hi.
What can I do for you? Are you Thomas Hale Dobbins?
Look, hold it 1 little minute while I'll give it another twist.
Mr. Dobbins, I have a warrant here for your arrest. I have a warrant here for your arrest.
A warrant?
Yeah.
Just, can I look at it a minute?
Sure.
This is new to me. Warrant. This is odd. I never had a warrant before. This is new to me. I'll be darned sure.
Is that your boat, Mr. Dobbins?
Yes, you like it?
Looks mighty nice.
Come on, I'll show it to you.
Oh, okay.
Here's the warrant. That's my ship.
He's a beauty.
I named her after my wife and myself, the Abby Hale. Same age as my wife, you know. Don't tell her I told you. You know what's in that boat?
What?
Solid teak. Up on charge for 30 years. Yeah. We recorked it together, her and I. Stepped the mast, rigged her out from stem to stern. Took us 2 years, too.
You sure did a good job.
And I'm proud of her. Yeah. Honey, I'm going down to the police station for a little while, see?
Those railroad people?
Yeah. It seems as though I've been acting in a very criminal way, you know. Possession and raising poultry within the city limits, assault, disturbing the peace, and possession of deadly weapons.
Well, it's the possession of deadly weapons that's the serious charge.
Yeah.
Oh, incidentally, may I see those deadly weapons?
Well, do you have any such thing, Tom?
Oh, yes. He means the pistol.
Oh, I'll bring them to you.
Wait till you see them. Wait till you see a real pair of matched pistols, Buttes. They're Lugers. I never seen a pair of guns any better.
Mr. Dobbins, I suppose you never had a license for those, have you?
Well, get a look at these. Wait till you see them. Here.
Not loaded, are they?
Oh, no, sir.
See, I'm afraid, Mr. Dobbins, we're going to have to take these along with us. You'll be getting them back, of course.
That's all right.
No, now, keep a cool head, dear.
Oh, yeah.
You better take these with you.
Yeah.
When he gets excited, he sorts them. Comes from being a postman for so many years and sorting so many letters.
Yeah.
Bye,
I'll be back, man.
Bye. This is really something here.
How do you like that? I made it myself, every inch of it. Gives a fellow on this route a sort of a kick and a thrill, you know?
I bet it does.
Listen to this. Sort of breaks the monotony. Say, young fella.
Yeah.
Look, I'd like to make a point. According to law, I am officially incarcerated as of this moment.
You mean you can't put up bail, Mr. Dobbins?
I mean I won't put up bail, Lieutenant. Look, I'm willing to take my punishment if I have broken the law.
If you've broken the law.
Look, as a fellow who's been a postman all his life, you know, I know a little something about the law. Would you like me to prove it to you?
That would be interesting.
Now, you see, that chickens and ducks, they ain't mine.
What do you mean they're not yours?
They're strays. They just wandered onto my property without permission. You know, trespassing, as you might say. I'm just holding them until the rightful owner shows up to claim them. And as far as disturbing the peace is concerned, the fella that lives next door to me is so hard of hearing he hasn't heard himself think in years. And the house on the other side that's empty. Nobody's lived there in 2 years. And the street's in front of me, and people just walk by and talk, that's all. But in the back is the arm of the river. I just can't see who I disturbed.
He may have a point.
Now, Lieutenant, concerning these deadly weapons, have you examined these guns thoroughly? Because when you do, you're going to be surprised. They're war souvenirs. I got them back in 1918. And before I put them on the mantelpiece, I took them over to the armory and had the barrels welded shut, you know, according to the law.
Did you examine these guns before you brought him in here? Fine.
You got a picture here of an assault. A deadly assault. Now, does that look like an assault? I'm just asking you, Lieutenant. Does that look like an assault?
I'm not a judge or jury. I wouldn't know about that.
Lieutenant, what is the penalty for false arrest?
$500 fine or 1 year in jail or both.
And false imprisonment?
$500 fine or 1 year in jail or both.
Say, malicious prosecution.
5, the same.
You mind if I get a drink? Say, invasion of privacy.
That's a civil suit, Mr. Dobbins.
According to the Constitution, you know, I'm entitled to a speedy trial. Is there a magistrate that'll handle my case?
Yes, Mr. Dobbins, we'll find a magistrate for you.
Thank you, Lieutenant. It made me happy. Now we can take that warrant downtown. I can plead not guilty, and after I'm all squared away, then I can file a complaint of my own.
In here, please, Mr. Dobbins.
Mr. Dobbins, my name is Warwick. How do you do?
How do you do, President?
I'm sure you know these gentlemen, Mr. Granger, Mr. Banning.
Oh, yes, we met. But I came to talk to you about your bridge.
Yes, of course. But first, I hope you will join us for lunch.
Well, of course, I will.
Please.
I'm not sure, Mike. All I know is I got this tip from the watchman. He thinks he's got the right building. From the description and the timing, sounds like Flaxner. It's Flaxner's old neighborhood, that's for sure. I got a couple of prowl cars on the way. I'll keep in touch. Flaxner?
Do you think he's in there?
Flaxner! Yeah, I think he's in there.
Now let's get down to business. In the first place, we'll buy you another piece of land any place you say.
Residential land, that is.
Yes, residential land. And we'll move your house and your boat.
And we'll move your garden, too.
Yes, that is to say, we'll set you up exactly as you are now, except in a different area. And we'll give you $15,000 cash to boot.
But I don't want $15,000 cash. I make $67 a week for the rest of my life, and I spend $57.30.
$15,000 is a lot of honest money. What's wrong with that deal?
I'll tell you what's wrong with it. All your life you've been wheeling and dealing, pushing and pulling, buying this and selling that, and forgetting all about other people. Never thinking about other people. Look, I didn't come here to bargain with you. I came to explain why I want you to open that bridge.
Mr. Dobbins, do you have any idea how much money that would cost us?
Have you any idea how long ago it is since that sales contract was signed?
For 30 of those years, Mr. Warwick, I walked a mail road through this city. And I once totaled the stairs that I climbed, some 690-some thousand steps, times 2, up and down. And every time I carried that mail, I thought of retiring and living in my father's house with my wife. Hadn't been lived in for years. We fixed it inside and out. Took us 3 years. Took about 2 years to get the boat in shape. Oh, Mr. Warwick, you can't buy a man's anticipation. You might just as well figure that out for yourself right now and get that bridge ready to open up. We're going sailing every weekend all summer long. I hereby give you fair notice.
You have no idea what you're saying, that this could ruin us.
Be reasonable, Dobbins.
I was reasonable when you came to see me. I was still reasonable when you left, though I was sore. But when you served me with that malicious warrant, then I wasn't reasonable no more. I was angry, and now I'm getting angrier.
You can't fight us. We're too big. We'll cook you and eat you. Now, why can't we make a settlement, and then we can be friends?
Mr. Warwick, I'm a postman. When I set out to deliver a letter, it gets to its destination. No excuses, no alibis. And I've set out to take my boat down the river.
Do you know anything about the law of adverse possession?
No, not yet, but I expect to learn.
Tell him, Banning.
Well, in layman's language, if over a period of 15 years a property is tenanted by someone who's not the owner, without that owner's knowledge, that adverse possessor pays the tax for that period of years, then the adverse possessor becomes the owner of the property. Now, during the period from 1904 to 1920, a Mr. Morton Jones lived on your property and paid the taxes.
He was my father's friend.
You'll have to prove that in court, and it'll cost you a great deal of money.
We have the power of attorney from the Morton Jones estate, giving us the right to file suit for adverse possession. And when we win, we'll evict you.
Now, do we understand each other, Mr. Dobbins?
All right. You shot at me. Now I'll shoot at you. Aside from the house and the boat that my father left me, he also left me some stock in your company, which makes me one of the owners. Now I stopped at the brokers to find out the published salaries. What do you need with all the money this company pays you, Mr. Warwick? And you, Mr. Granger, $64,000 plus stock options. It's time you took a cut in salary. And being one of the stockholders, I'm going to introduce a motion to that effect at the next stockholders meeting.
Are you attempting to intimidate us?
Oh, no, indeed. No, of course not, no. But I have a big surprise for you. Oh, you're both going to be arrested.
Us?
Yes, yes. I've sworn out a complaint against the both of you. Yes. And invading privacy, malicious prosecution, and a lot of other little things.
Can he do this? Well, I'll be doggone.
Gentlemen, all I have to say up to this minute is I have not yet begun to fight. Could I have a light, please? Thank you.
Crandall's ready.
Okay.
Mr. Dobbins. Who are all these people?
They'd like to see the lieutenant.
Lieutenant.
Adam, have you heard from?
Mike. Mr. Dobbins is here, and these people.
They'd like to see you, Lieutenant.
All right. Come in. Come in.
Oh, I'll get the bed chair for you. All right.
Mr. Dobbins, here, we'll take this. Max, better bring in some chairs. Here you are. Thank you.
Lieutenant, this is Mr. Warwick. He's the president of the railroad. I don't know who this other fellow is.
This is Donald Chavez, head counsel for our company.
How you do?
The little fellow in the corner there, that's a friend of mine, is Jake.
I suggest you be very careful in handling this matter, Lieutenant Parker. We are quite conversant with the law in cases of this kind.
I see. Now, I'm here to administer the law, Mr. Chavez, not to write it. Mr. Dobbins, you or any other citizen has a right to bring his problems here. We'll do our best to enforce the law. And another thing, I'm sick and tired of hearing that old wheeze about my pounding a beat at the end of Staten Island. I've heard that at least 12 times today. Now, this is not a courtroom, but if we can settle our problems right here, we'll save the taxpayers money. All right? Tell me about it.
Lieutenant Parker, if Mr. Dobbins can't substantiate his charges, he's liable to the full extent of the law.
Banning, shut up before you go to jail.
The way I figure it, you and Granger went to Mr. Dobbins' home, hung some phony charges on him, and had him arrested. And now he's going to have you arrested. And from the way I look at it, the odds are that you're going to have the book thrown at you.
You're fired. And I'll tell you what you're going to do. Tell him, Donald. We're going to let you take us into court, Mr. Dobbins. If we lose the case, we will appeal and you'll have to go into court again. And again. And again. Then we're going to test the validity of that sales contract in a set of countersuits and injunctions. We will use every legal means at our disposal to see to it that you make a career of litigation if necessary. You will find, Mr. Dobbins, that the beautiful structure of the law protects us as well as you.
What kind of a lawyer can you get for $67 a week?
Who would you say was the most brilliant trial lawyer in the past 50 years? Big cases, I mean.
Walter Parkman, Gribley, perhaps. Jacob Silcox Moreland, of course.
Who would you say was the best of the three?
I've always felt that Mr. Moreland was the finest intellect in the field by a considerable margin.
Pretty smart fella, eh?
Every profession has its wild talents. Mr. Moreland has never lost a case.
Well, I'll tell you 3 things about him you don't know. 1, he earned $7 million before he retired. That's when he could keep it. 2, he lives across the road from me. 3, that's him. Counselor.
It's nice to be back in harness again. Gentlemen, it's been some time since I was asked to handle a matter such as this. However, I think that...
I would like to consult with my client. Jacobs.
Mike, can I talk to Dobbins alone?
Sure, go ahead.
Frank. Pardon me just a second. How did you make out?
Go away. Don't look at me. Don't talk to me. Just stay away from me and let me be.
Well, Mr. Dobbins, it looks like you won that war in there.
It looks that way.
Do you remember what happened with General Grant at that meeting in Appomattox? Well, he was about as generous as he could be with the surrender terms.
Meaning what?
Well, meaning that I don't think that you, General Dobbins, should be too hard on a couple of old drummer boys named Banning and Granger.
What about General Warwick?
I'm going to leave him up to you. But, well, I don't think you'd be very happy if those two fellows lost their jobs, would you?
No. That would be kind of mean, wouldn't it?
I think so.
I think I'll have to do something about that.
Fine. I'll be in just a minute. Frank, look, you gotta be more than a policeman to do this job.
Yeah, you gotta be a fish.
I've got a little proposition for Mr. Warwick, if you can get his attention.
Oh, Mr. Warwick. Mr. Warwick, Mr. Dobbins would like a word with you if you can get your entourage seated again.
All right. What is it?
Are you still willing to move my house?
Yes.
Well, then, here's what I'll do. You open that bridge with me next Saturday, and I'll take my boat out and bring it back once each way. Then you can close your bridge, move my house, and we'll forget the whole thing.
All right, I'll do it.
Now, wait a minute. I wish you'd give these fellas back their jobs again. It ain't their fault if they ran up against me. Is that all right with you?
Yes. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Dobbins.
Yes.
Lieutenant, I'd like to withdraw my complaint against these fellas.
Well, that's nice. Now, will everybody please get out of here so we can get some work done?
Lieutenant, it's been a real rewarding experience.
General Grant would have been proud of you.
Go on, Jake.
Well?
Well, I brought him in. He's in the tank.
Frank, nice going. Hey, you're all wet. Say, you better get home and change your clothes, Frank. You'll get your death of cold. Nice going. Thanks a million, Frank.
We'll be back at 6 o'clock, and you can open her up again then. I'll bring you back a mess of flounders.
Mr. Warwick, we once had a country full of people like that. I'm afraid there isn't much you can do about it.
There are 8 million stories in the naked city. This has been one of them.
a Screen Gems film presentation from Columbia Pictures, produced by Herbert B. Leonard.